started.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Helm developer call. Today is Thursday, March 8th, 2018. We're going to go ahead and get started with our normal, any announcements to begin with. Are there any announcements that anyone has? Adam.
Yeah, so me and Butcher have been working on a proposal for Helm 3. So I think it'll be ready for next week. So I just want to let everybody know we'll be discussing it next week, and also make sure that we have time to go over it.
I have seen a sneak preview, and I can confirm that it is pretty cool. Any other announcements? Okay, great. We'll go right into stand-up. New to the calls, since we've been getting some new people in to the developer calls after the summit, which welcome if you are new. We start off with the announcements, and then we go into all the core maintainers give their stand-up, and then anyone else who has a feature in flight or anything they want to report on with the stand-up, we go through that, and then we go into discussion. So I'll start off. Stand-up is, for me, I've been going over a little bit of the Helm 3 proposal stuff with Adam and Butcher, and writing up the blog post that went out for the Helm Summit. And then I was starting on some PRs and reviewing yesterday. So back in the thick of things. This week I'll probably be doing some more PR reviews and help out with anything with Helm 3 proposals or whatever is needed with that. So that's it for me, and I'll pass it off to Nick.
Hey guys, for me, I've been looking at a couple of issues and answering those things that I had commented on earlier. In addition to that, also was doing some investigation on how OAuth 2 and scopes work, so that we can propose something concrete for the scope schema for Chart Museum. So I was working with Josh on that. And also been looking at a couple of PRs, but we'll keep doing that this week. So that's me. And with that, I will pass it on to Michelle.
Hey y'all, I've been at Open Source Leadership Summit for the last few days. Before that, I was just checking on issues because BetaBot closed some issues that had been on. So let's talk about BetaBot at the end if we have some time. I don't know if you've already discussed if we wanted to staple that on our repo or not. The only other thing is we have some confusion with the mailing list. There's people who are non-maintainers who are joining the maintainers mailing list because it's like public. So we should probably just revisit who should join which mailing list and kind of document that somewhere. And if the charts maintainers want their own mailing list, we should probably let somebody know that we need to create that. Somebody on the CNCF side know that we're going to create that. I also added several other admins to the mailing list so that if I get hit by a bus, then Helm will go on. All right.
Did you all say you added several other mats?
I did actually add. I added several other admins. All of them were mats. I added no non-mat admins. I will add non-mat admins actually. Let's see. Fisher.
Sorry, I was just posting a little thing in the comments. So yes, or I guess last week, I have been working hard on just reviewing PRs, moving forward on some discussions on the upgrade fix or the upgrade bug and the Helm init -- wait. After it's been mostly just kind of looking at the proposals and saying like, okay, this is good and that, but we haven't actually done an in-depth kind of like review. And after discussions with Brian and Adam and a few other maintainers on what are some good approaches for those, we came up with a couple of different solutions that actually turned out to be a lot cleaner, at least for like Helm init -- wait, like plugging into the gRPC health service, which is built into gRPC, which I never knew about, which is kind of cool. I was spending last week working on one feature for that, which was the Helm init wait plugging into the gRPC stuff. And then otherwise, it's been mostly reviews. So this week, what I plan to do is that I think Adam and I, shortly after this, we want to pair together and take a look at some of the PRs and just have some discussion on those. Other than that, steady as she goes. Yeah. Let's go with Farina.
So I have been working on gathering some of the documentation from the Helm Summit and getting that stuff together. So for example, we got the user profiles documented and that's merged into the Helm community repo. And right now there is a HackMD that has a whole bunch of the user stories that have been pulled out of the sessions from the unconference. And I'm working on a pull request to also bring that into the community repo so we can iterate on things there. But kind of gather this, what has been going on, what do we need, and where does it come from? In addition to that, I too have been working on that Helm v3 proposal and poking at it. I've made some modifications to it. Adam, if you weren't aware, you should go look. I discussed it all with Butcher, but I've been going and touching in that as well. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. Let's see, who hasn't gone? Where do I have that open? Adam? It's all yours.
Yeah, so this week I was issue Sherpa, so thanks for everybody else jumping in and helping out with that. I was having some internet connectivity issues, so I was a little bit slow to respond on stuff. So that meant late last night I went on and tagged everything. Yeah, so also been working on that V3 proposal. For anybody on the call who's not aware of what's going on with that, me and Butcher got together and tried to collect what we had learned from the Helm Summit. I think what the biggest thing we gained out of it was able to take the temperature of the community to find out what was really important and what was not, more so than actually get requirements from the summit. So we tried to collect all of that and kind of make it cohesive and all in one proposal, something for us to work off of. So come back next week if you want to check that out and start the discussion on that. We just want to make sure it's polished enough that we can have some good discussion around it. So it's not too loose and kind of like how it was at the summit, where it's just tell us what you want. We want something concrete that we can actually say yes or no, maybe change this, change that. So hopefully we'll be at that point, and we'll see how it goes. Plus, I still want to make it clear that, you know, like there are certain things that the community is not ready for Helm 3 and want to push back on certain things. You know, too much change could be a bad thing. And I just want to make sure that, like, we should take that into consideration also, where we don't want to cause too much disruption. Helm is really kicking off right now. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but just I want us to keep that in mind of, you know, are we doing this for the next latest and greatest thing, or is this something that's really going to benefit the community? So I just want us to keep that in mind as well when we look at it next week. Other than that, I'll be reviewing a couple outstanding hot PRs with Fisher. If anybody else wants to join in on some fun, let me know. We're just going to pair and try to get through this like wave thing and the proto thing.
I think another person will look at it out. Just let me know. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're going to go a little bit after this and just try to power through some of them and just get them resolved. But I'll let you know if we need some extra help. I think that's all from me. Go Fancy Brian.
Is that me?
Of course.
I don't want to be presumptuous. Yeah, I've been pairing with Fisher on the Helm wait stuff and implementing basically the ping using the proto health check specification. Other than that, that's about as far as my contributions to Helm have been in the last week. Is anybody not gone? I'll hot potato it back to Taylor.
I do have one last thing to tack onto my stand-up, which is Ronan and I are also working on the helm.sh and docs.helm.sh site, or the repository that is building that infrastructure. It's on older Deis infrastructure like ci.deis.io, and it's being deployed that way. And I think it's like on an old Deis cluster somewhere from our migration over from Microsoft. So somewhere out there, Deis workflow is still running. But other than that, we're just trying to move it over, I think, to Azure resources and a couple other things.
It's probably some like laptop under somebody's desk. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's that kind of setup. So, trying to bring it into the cloud.
Okay, is it back to me? Do I have the hot potato now? Okay. So, thanks everyone for their stand-up. Is there anyone else from the community who wanted to drop in a stand-up about something they're working on? Okay, looks like we will move on to the points of discussion. So first thing we have up in our notes is templating in the, okay, actually we have like 4 different discussion points, so let's make the assignments now so we don't have to make them at the very end. I can volunteer to be issue Sherpa for this week.
Can I volunteer to be issue Sherpa assistant, because I want to help, but I am also going to be on vacation for a few days next week, and I will miss next Thursday.
there's no official title, but you can do it, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, so there we go. We have a Sherpa and a Sherpa helper. I don't even sure, aren't the Sherpas the people who help? Anyway, I don't know. So, okay, sorry. And then for notes, anyone want to do notes and lead the meeting? Any volunteers?
I can do notes next week.
I can lead.
Okay, perfect. Assistant to the regional Sherpa. Okay, agreed. Thanks, Brian. Final title received, Michelle. You are the assistant to the regional Sherpa.
I'm typing that in.
Wait, can I get an assistant too for leading?
Now, on to real things. So our discussion. First thing up is templating in the values.yaml file. Who was the one who dropped that in for discussion? Was that Farina, or was that Fisher or Michelle? I'm not sure.
That was me. Leading off something from Reinhard. So if you look at it, there are a number of issues and even an example implementation, and folks would like to go down the road of being able to templatize values.yaml files. And there are reasons listed in the issues. Let's see if I can find one real quick here. And you'll see it in the image if you go there. It gives an example of how you'd want to use it. And here it's being used in the pod anti-affinity configuration, where the release name is passed in, and then that is to YAML. And they do some interesting things with the TPL to get it here, but there's questions around is there a way we can go about doing something like that?
I'm not sure I understand the primary use case for this. Is there one, or is this just a bunch of issues related to it?
Let's see. I'm trying to remember now because I forgot about this coming into it. So there's a number of issues open where folks wanted it, and I think they've documented their use case.
Okay.
Because again, there's multiple issues open on this with folks who want it. And so, for example,
because to me, I apologize for commenting before reading the issues, but it comes across as kind of an anti-pattern where the values file is what defines the parameters and what you can template. So it seems a little backwards to templatize the parameters, but I'll go and look at the issues. I shouldn't talk on it without knowing what it is.
I think the one the one argument that has been made, or the one use case that I've seen solidly in that issue, was the ability to pass the name of a parent chart to child charts. I've seen that pattern in that issue queue, or in that specific issue, several times. So I wonder if we solved that case somehow. And I know that in the proposal doc for Helm 3, I think, was it Butcher had an idea that might solve that use case, but I'm not sure yet. But if that is the one primary driver for this, then if we solve that, would that get rid of the need for templatizing values.yaml? Because I share the same thing. I would almost say it's like parallel to templatizing makefiles, in a sense.
The other case that I've heard people talk about is things like, I want to be able to set a value in the beginning of my values.yaml and then use that value further down when I want to set something else to the same thing.
Yeah, and I've seen that too. And I know that YAML has a way to anchor certain values, like you can redress them. However, the YAML doesn't allow that.
Exactly. I'm not sure if there is a
maybe here's an idea. I like the
parser that supports that yet.
Yeah. What were you saying, Taylor?
Sorry if I'm interrupting. I think my video feed keeps getting lagged. But I like what you were saying, Fisher, about doing like maybe addressing that one use case of passing through the parent chart name or other chart names, because that definitely is useful. I've run into that several times. But maybe what we can do is implement this as a plugin, as an alpha feature. And then like with actual templating of the values file, and see like how nasty it becomes or how many people use it, as just kind of just a possibility of trying this out before actually pulling it into core. If we see a lot of people using it, even if from a programmatic standpoint it's kind of a little gnarly, but if a lot of people use it and find value out of it, unintended, I would say we could move forward with that, because that's something that obviously we see the community wants. And so maybe that's the way we do it. Maybe we do try to implement the whole passing through chart names down to children, which would make sense. And then the other stuff with templatizing a values could be a plugin for now, especially if someone has a reference implementation already that they kind of want to just put a little polish on, and then see if we can go from there. And we can say, hey, here's the thing somebody implemented. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so I see there are two things that it is, or two core problems it is. One is that there are no good Go standard libs or YAML parsers that don't allow the anchoring, which you could solve that use case. But at the same time, it's the same pattern that we see with like Helm template and kubectl apply, in where we're rendering values client side and then applying it to Kubernetes. Whereas in this case, people want to render value files before submitting it to Helm. So I can see some parallels there too. So if there's a way we could implement a plugin to test out that idea, assuming that unless there's no possible way that we can add anchoring to a YAML parser. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if this is an issue of not having parent chart values in there, we could always do something standard. Like we make available the chart metadata and the release metadata in the rendering. We could do something similar like parent chart and include it in there without having to allow templating of the values file. So we can still get that information in there in a more structured way. That's why I was asking originally, like, what's the use case? Because if it's just a matter of there is a common data set that people are looking for to have available when they're rendering their templates. If it's something like parent, like that's something really easy to add, and that's I see a lot of value in that. Even exposing like a tree in there to be able to traverse up and get the root template or anything like that. Like there's a lot we could do there without going down the route of like fully templating a values thing, because that we're going to enable people to get into trouble if we start doing that, where they're going to end up with such spaghetti that it's going to be so hard to debug their way out of certain values, especially with trying to have reproducible builds, which was what Fisher was alluding to, I think, before, where some of the templating happens client side, some of the templating happens server side, to be able to trace that back to why is this value giving me this value on this machine and not on this machine. So I think we might want to trace down the actual user story for this.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents.
That sounds good. I mean, what I'm getting out of this is we need to go read through some of the issues and probably revisit this again next week and see if we can figure out what the specific use cases are and then address that with
yeah, I'll take a look at them today or tomorrow, just so I'm aware of what people are actually asking for, and see if there isn't a better solution. Then yeah, go ahead.
I'll reach out to Reinhard, who originally brought this up. The more I'm starting to look at some of these again and revisit it, it looks like release name, and it looks like release name as like I'm gonna to YAML some section of my values file, which kind of is where things get interesting, because if you're just doing that, you could move these sections into your templates and then just have that, and release name will work there, right? And so I'm curious what's going on, but I'll also really reach back out to Reinhard again, who originally brought this to my attention. And see if there's cases other than the release name in this kind of style of flow.
Okay. Next up on the docket is reconnect to tiller on transport error. Anyone who owns that one?
Yeah, that's me too. All right, so tiller on transport error. There are cases, and you'll see them on some of the wait issues that are currently open, where the connection to tiller gets broken. We're experiencing this over on the chart CI, where a chart might be currently running Helm test, and then transport to tiller gets broken, and the chart fails testing, or the chart fails the CI run, even if the test pass, because the connection to tiller broke. And that's the outstanding issue we have, and it is impacting CI for some of our stuff right now on charts.
One suggestion for that, Helm and Tiller also support a connection via a service that's created. So with stuff like CI, where you're hitting it very frequently, you could always set up a service and then point Helm directly to that service. Or you could always set up a global port forward and leave the connection open and just be hitting that connection as well. So the default how Helm connects to tiller, that was put in there as just a convenience for just getting up and running. So when we wrote it, we wrote it specific so you would have multiple options for setting up the connection. So it might be worth looking into. I think default Helm init actually creates the service for you as well. So if you just get the IP, you can just set it to hit that.
Okay. We'll have to take a look at it. It might already have the service going. But this is kind of a newer thing we've only recently started to experience. And okay. I thought gRPC had automatic reconnect in it. And so I'm wondering if there's something detailed inside of there to go dig into why, because we just upgraded gRPC too, right? To a new version of the library. I also wonder if there's something going on there.
What's the issue number for this?
I don't remember offhand. Again, I was the messenger here from the charts meeting.
I think this issue is the one where like Helm install does not respect -- timeout. I've seen that one happen. Is that one it?
No, because this is happening when we're running Helm test is when we see this.
Okay.
You may not know this either, but do you know how long the tests are taking that are when you're seeing this error?
We see the error in less than a minute.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay.
It's like 40 some
there's
seconds.
There's two possible points of failure. One is the tunnel, keeping that open, because there's an open tunnel and then a closed tunnel at the end of every Helm action, and then there's the gRPC events that happen in between. So it could be that the tunnel is having issues or the gRPC. So that would be the thing to check.
Okay. So anything else on that point?
Is there an issue created for that?
I don't know. I'll go chase it down and add it to the notes if there already is, or I'll attempt to extract one from the folks who are interested in the chart side to make sure this happens. But I'll take on that to do today.
Okay. Yeah, if you hunt one down, just ping me on that also.
Okay. Next up is the E2E test. That was my thing. Mache opened up some E2E tests for Helm 2. They were basically ready. I'm wondering if someone wants to take it over and just rebase and make sure they're still running. Okay, Adam will take it over apparently. Because I really
want for way too much this meeting.
Adam, I can help out too. I was really excited to have that so we could start adding some more E2E tests and seeing how it works.
I already rebased it. There's a few other things to clean up and fix on it, just to make sure everything's up to date. But it's almost there.
Okay, good. Okay, so last thing. 1 minute. Index.yaml version 2 proposal. I'm guessing that is Farina, but it could have been someone else.
You're right. So can y'all go take a look at this to look at the sanity or issues of it? This is one of those things that may even be good to bring into the discussion next week when we look at Helm v3. For anybody who's not aware, it seems when you've got a whole lot of chart and specifically chart version pairs, you can use a ridiculous amount of memory, like a gig of RAM when you add a repository. And quite frankly, for me, that hits the community charts repo because eventually we'll probably get there to these massive numbers. And so we want to make sure that you can add that, say, in a CI system that's got limited memory. And so actually targeting and thinking this through is important. And I'd love to get a next version into Helm 3 if there's something we can do there. But go take a look at that, please.
Okay, perfect. That definitely looks like something we'll probably end up discussing next week too. So next week, when we leave the meeting, I'm assuming because we're going to be presenting that Helm 3 thing, we'll probably have no other discussion topics except that. We'll try to keep stand-up pretty short so that we have as much time as we can to discuss the Helm 3 proposal that Adam and Butcher will be bringing. And I think that's it. Anything else anyone wants to bring up really quickly before we end?
Yeah, anybody that's not on the core team want
to
bring anything?
Yeah, I'm kind of here for the index YAML v2 thing, but yeah, if you guys just want to talk on the ticket about it, that's fine. Also, Jimmy from CoreOS is planning to put together a pretty complete chart repo v2 spec, so that's kind of related too. So,
Josh, we're definitely going to talk about that this next week. I mean, that's probably a big. So, and I know that
our proposals focus more on like the Helm itself and
no, I get that.
The engine side of it. So it'd be great to have somebody on there talking about the charts side of things as well.
Yeah, I think though it'll be important to have a lot of your guys' feedback because they've got the app registry thing and I have chart museums, so there's a little bit of bias there to move a lot of stuff to server side and whether that's a good or bad thing. So
yeah, like some of the suggestions in there do things that won't work if you're using a static or object storage, and now stuff doesn't work anymore with possible changes here. So go take a look at it. And some functionality would change, like Helm search may end up changing, so you can't search all of your repositories at once. You have to search one at a time and individually choose it. So really go take a look at the issue.
I'd like to say that I am looking at the issue. I'm just silently trolling on it in the sense of like I'm reading, slowly mulling through all the things that are going through on Helm 3. So
okay. So yeah, definitely come back, Josh, and we'll make sure we get to that and talk about it because it will be part of the Helm 3 still. So we do want to hear about that and make sure we have
Okay.
both sides of the discussion in there.
Okay. Yeah. There's also another. I don't know if this should be created in Helm 2. There's a proposal for adding OAuth to Chart Museum. So I think there needs to be a sister issue for. I don't know if there already is an issue about OAuth in Helm repos too. So if anyone has that, send me a link.
Yeah, that should be able to be accomplished now. We made the transport for fetching charts pluggable.
Okay.
So we might be able to do an OAuth plugin for that.
Okay, that's awesome.
The fetching is, but not the authentication. So for something like Chart Museum, you'd need to use like cm:// and then it would drop into a Chart Museum plugin to do something. If you look at the S3 plugin, you can look at how they did it for the same kind of thing, and then you can support whatever authentication mechanism you want.
Well, I was thinking about making it an alternative to basic auth in the core, taking a bearer token. Anyway.
Yeah.
I was also asking, is there already an issue for? I need to do a search, but is there already an issue for making the auth stronger on repos that you know about?
I think there's a couple issues. I don't know them off the top of my head though.
Yeah, I mean, the way Helm 2 today does it is you have HTTP and HTTPS for the schemes in your URL, and those map to what you know with basic authentication. If you want to do transport outside of that or other authentication mechanisms outside of that, you change the scheme. So like if you have the S3 plugin, S3:/ will connect to an S3 repository, and then it'll use S3's authentication mechanism. So it's not using the scheme in the URL to the chart repository or the chart of HTTP or HTTPS. It's using S3, but that just causes it to drop into the plugin to do the work. And that's how you get around that authentication mechanism today or doing other things.
Okay, I'm kind of more saying if we make OAuth a Helm native thing, let's discuss offline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just saying also for experimentation, you could do something like this with Chart Museum without altering Helm today and do experiments on it using the plugin mechanism.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
see how that goes. And it's a great way to just get started on something
Absolutely.
and prove it out. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Josh, just to close on the point with the issues, I will check to see if there are any open issues on this and work with you, since I've been looking at some of the OAuth stuff as well, to figure out what's already there in Helm and sort of come to propose something if something's not already there. So.
Yeah. Thanks for your additions, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So we're 6 over, so we'll go ahead and close up. Thanks, everyone. It's been a good meeting. We'll come back next week. We'll talk over the Helm 3 proposal and some of these things with charts as well, and go from there. So thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
See ya.
Thanks, guys. See ya.